Welcome everyone to this new video. Dr. Sears here. Today I'm bringing you another profile. This time we have the decklist of the European champion Valos, the winner of the last Evolution Cup, celebrated in Europe. It was a really big tournament with more than 300 people playing the tournament. It was a weekend tournament, so it's even harder than a physical tournament because you need to be really careful in what your opponent is doing, what you're doing, because cheating is everywhere in this kind of tournament. So congratulations again to the champion Valos, and let's check this deck list. We have on the Digitamas 2 copies of Yokomon and 3 of Babytomon. As we have said in previous videos about Jesmon, the DGX you're running is not relevant, at least most of the times. They are pretty situational, almost all of them give extra TP boost, something that Jesmon does not actually need most times, but if we empathize on killing the opponent's Digimon by battle, then Yokomon becomes a star. And Babytomon becomes situational because it only works well with Jesmon. Otherwise, this is a good ratio. And into the level 3s, we have 2 copies of Monodramon for a cheap to play rookie and memory choke the opponent. Hackmon at 4 copies. Obviously, this is a pretty obvious choice. Hackmon needs to be run at 4. And 4 copies of Gilmon. The Gilmon package is obviously a spoiler of that this player is running Gallantmon in some form. On the Sister Moms package, we have Blank at 3 and Seal at 3. This ratio becomes my favorite because with 6 copies, you will statistically always see one of them in your starting hand or in your security stack. Keep this in mind because if you are running these ratios, you could just wait for the opponent to blow up some of your security cards, and then one of the system mons will end in your dash just to be able to revive by the Jesmon effect. So that's it. Some players are rather into run 4 copies of System on Blank, but honestly, if you need to block, you are doing something bad. You are just losing the game anyway. Because Blank becomes a blocker when you are about to give your finishing blow. And otherwise, if you need to block with your System Mons, you are in a bad situation anyway, so that's it. Next on the level 4s, we have 2 copies of Egunimon. And this is also a spoiler because when a player is running 2 copies of Egunimon, it means that he's running at least 3 tamers, no matter what. And that's it. Gunimon is a good finisher, but most players are always saving a Gunimon in the hand to give the finishing blow rather than remember that it is a level 4. You could use a Gunimon just to create your stack, or you could use a Gunimon to convert your tamer into a level 3 and then create your new stack over Agunimon. You could evolve Agunimon into Savior and then into Jesmon. That's something most players forgive, and you should completely be remembering this play because it will be relevant in future games. That's it for copies of Hackmon for extra removal, and it is a searchable level 4 by Hackmon. No doubts about this ratio. And 4 copies of Greymon for extra aggression. In the level 5s, we have 3 copies of Rise Greymon because we are running 3 tamers, and this one gives an excellent choice together with Hackmon to delete in the when attacking. We can just delete 7k TP or less just by attacking, which is really good. We could even delete 5k and 2k or less just winning 1 single attack, and that's pretty solid. So Rise Greymon is one of my favorite cards actually in the game, and it gives you extra access to cheat out your tamers, so really cool. And for copies of Savior Hackmon, that's a must. that has no discussion. Savior is the best level 5, and it is actually the reason of why Jesmon deck is playable at all. Being able to unsuspend your level 6 is just insane, especially when we have a multiple security checker with multiple attacks and piercing in the form of Jesmon, which we are running also 4 copies of him, no matter what. The card that gives the name to the deck needs to be run at 4 copies. That's a commandment. And we have already spoiled the 2 copies of Gallantmon from the Guildmon package, because actually Gallantmon is pretty good. And it is pretty scary. If your opponent is playing a control build, Gallantmon is really scary because of the security attack +1 effect. And that's something you need to be aware of, because let's suppose Gallantmon is attacking. If you're running a control deck, you will mostly not have killable Digimons by the when attacking effect of Gallantmon, and it will become a 14 DP attacker with 2 security checks. That's dangerous. If somehow the Gallantmon survives, and then you need to wait your turn just to kill Gallantmon, and then you will be in a really bad situation, because you can just delete Gallantmon and there could be a Jesmon on the breeding area or something like that, and you're dead. That's it. So Gallantmon is really good. Also, you need to be aware of controlling Gallantmon together with the Jesmon, because the Iron Fist card, removal black option card, could just kill both of them. So be careful when you're playing your Gallantmon. On the other side, we have 2 copies of Omnimon. I'm not a big fan of running multiple copies of Omnimon in the deck, but it is still decent because it is a pseudo removal card in the security. By being a 14k DP Digimon, it can kill the Bond Digimons, Agumon and Gabumon. If it appears in the security, it can just be your finisher, and it can even... You can use Omnimon against the control decks, because the only card that can just get rid of Omnimon are the DP reduction effects like Wyvern's Breath, and DP reduction is not really popular this format, so Omnimon becomes really solid. Let's say we have a surviving Gallantmon from the security checks, we can just evolve into Omnimon, give an additional attack, and it will be really hard to remove, especially as it is a level 7. 3 Musketeer decks have really poor options to delete Omnimon, because they cannot even use Millenniumon's effect, and once a level 7 is suspended, they cannot kill him with any of their cards. Maybe the only card that could just delete Omnimon is Happy Ballet Showering, and that card will always kill a Sistermon first, so I don't see any scenario of 3 Musketeers just getting rid of Omnimon, except by maybe Omnimon SWAT attacking this one. That's it. Let's move to the options and tamers. We have a cool package. He's running just 1 single copy of a Delicate Plan. That's good. The thoughts behind this, most players are running 2 copies of a Delicate Plan because they are really scared of the control decks. Actually, if you need to beat a control deck, you can just trust in your low level Digimons and start attacking. When they have at least 4 securities, you can think about making an OTK play. But you need to give some pressure anyway, because if you are waiting to create your perfect stack on the breeding area, you are risking to have a Sekuyamon in front of you, and then your plan will delay a turn, and the Jesmon player could just kill you anyway. So actually Valos, I think that Valos, the winner, was not expecting as much control decks as in the last events because they weren't so popular. The purple decks were popular, Gabumon deck and Agumon deck were both really popular choices, Jesmon, Mirror Match, and in general the aggro decks and Lilith Loop make a return, so 1 copy of Delicate Plan was enough. Actually, I don't want to run more than 1 copy because it is an additional potential brick in the starting hand, and you need to start your engine as soon as possible. Next, we have 3 copies of Judgment of the Blade. This card is good because it lets you kill Sakuyamon and then create an extra strategy against the opponent. Also, if it appears on the security, you could revive any of your Sistermons, creating a potential attacker for the next turn and a potential ending of the turn of the opponent, because if the opponent is at 0 memory, you can just summon your Sistermon seal and then you get 1 memory and the turn is over. I have won so many games with Jesmon just with this interaction that it is important to know what you should be doing when you are attacking the Jesmon security, because this particular interaction is game defining, so keep this in mind. Finally, we have 2 copies of Red Memory Boost and the anticipated and completely spoiled 3 copies of Tai as the memory generators. Actually, I'm not a big fan of Red Memory Boost because it is obvious that you get some consistency from this card, but you are losing 1 turn, and often if you are already in a brick situation and you have to waste your turn in a try to get out from that brick situation, you are still losing the game, because not only you are giving the information to the opponent of that you are breaking, you are missing one of your combo pieces, but you are actually telling them that you have nothing to do. So I don't like Red Memory Boost. That's it. Maybe in the first turn of the game this card is pretty decent because you give no information rather than what piece you are missing. If you add your level 3 or your level 4, then you are giving the opponent some information and that's it. We could even trick the opponent. If we have the level 3, we could just potentially hide that level 3 in our starting hand to make our opponents doubt about which cards we have in the hand, and that's a tricky choice. And 3 copies of Tai. This deck is completely based about controlling 1 copy at least of Tai, and that's something we need to think of, having multiple 3 evolution costs in the game. We have 4. We have expensive level 4s in the form of Greymon, Bao and Hagunimon, because all of them evolve for 2 cost. And we have 3 copies of Rise Greymon and 2 of Hagunimon, which demand a high pressure of us controlling a tamer. The main strategy was about controlling a Tai and then start to play, creating your stack and going for game. That's everything. Congratulations again, Valos. That's the 3rd or 4th time I congratulate you. And I think that Jesmon deck is still pretty powerful. It will be powerful in BT7 and BT8 because this deck is still the best red deck ever created, and you should be completely scared of this deck. Also, this deck is quite cheap at this current moment, so if you're a new player wanting to start into the game, this deck is cheap, this deck is powerful, and this deck is really fun to play. It is less consistent than Gabumon and other popular decks, but it is still a juggernaut, and as you can see, it wins big events. So that's it. If you like my content, please subscribe to the channel, give your feedback in the comment section, and see you next time.